Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I am a teacher, tarot oracle card reader, and I'm a singer and guitarist in the rock band Red Treasure, and I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
You're so creative, Collin. My name is my name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach, and I help people shift away from negative thinking. And I am in San Diego, California, and it's cloudy and sunny today. Some of my favorite combinations.
We want to thank you so much for listening and watching. Special shout out to my sister Kelly, my friend Jacqueline, and I guess we should say our friend Jacqueline now, and our friend Sarah, who was your friend first, but for being such amazing, loyal listeners. At this point in time, we are posting a brand new episode every Monday morning for you. We really appreciate you doing anything you can on your platform to support us. Like us, follow us, subscribe to us, leave us a comment, write us a review. All of that helps other people find us, and it helps us find out about you. Each week we start our discussion from a different jumping off point, and the jumping off point I asked Stephanie if we could discuss, and she was amenable to, was how something you do, you remind me of quite often on the show, and I always appreciate it. Because I think I have my thinking is kind of still sometimes going in the incorrect way on this, of like how you say that the law of attraction operates by law, meaning it's kind of like the law of gravity in the sense that if you jump off a building, you don't have to like do anything to get yourself to the ground.
I'm gonna
Like,
work the law of gravity
the
now.
law of gravity just like, bam, you're down. And that really is how the law of attraction works. Like it's you don't have to do anything super special to get it to work.
We just want to work with it. Like we want to
Yeah,
work it so that what I want to do is work it in my favor. And
right.
so I want to do my best to think about things I like, or um, focus on what I want, or just look for something to appreciate, because then law of attraction is going to do what it always does and respond to whatever I'm putting out there.
So we try consciously, or at least I try consciously on this show to avoid any talk of like specific religion, because I feel like everybody has their own concept of their higher power and how that works and what it's like, and
Thank God for that we get to pick
or
and
not.
choose.
There are atheists and agnostics out there as well who
True
don't.
that.
Yeah. But I do, like what strikes me when we talk about this topic is, every now and then I will be out with a friend who happens to be religious or something, or sometimes not even that religious, like they're barely religious. And they will say like, oh my God, they'll say something like this, like, oh my God, like my car broke down and my cat got sick and, my boyfriend broke up with me. I guess God hates me today.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm always like, ooh,
Ouch.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's not, the other thing is, and I do this on the show a lot, and I'm trying to get better at it. Like, I've also said things like that. I haven't said that exact sentence, but I'm not calling out other people and not myself. But I guess but sometimes I do think like that, like my vision of my higher power is like, oh, I've got to do things to please that higher power in order for that higher power to give me good stuff, or I did something wrong and I'm getting punished, or I didn't do anything wrong but I'm getting punished wrongly and I'm this victim of whatever.
You know what just came to my head right now is like, oh, that's like having like a parental version of what God or higher power or spirit
Yeah,
is. Like
like
when
an
you
angry
said those
parent.
things, I'm like, that's like what some a parents would do, like, or some other human would do to us, versus
Yeah,
what I think of like what my version of what God is. So
because when you think of it, I mean, I remember when I first heard the story of which, and I'm sure it's a much altered version from the original. I've now understood, but when I was told the fairy tale as a kid of Aladdin and the magic lamp, where Aladdin rubs the lamp and the genie comes out and he gives Aladdin 3 wishes. And I remember as a kid being like, that's so cool. Like, A, I wish that were true. And B, wouldn't it be cool if you get infinite wishes?
And we
And
do.
and that's the weird thing is like I remember on The Secret when they talk about how like, yeah, that is actually how the universe works. And I was like, whoa, what? Like what? It sounds too good to be
I'm so
true.
glad you bring that up because I don't even think about that,
Yeah,
from that movie or anything else, but it is absolutely like that
it
is how
is.
it is. Like I can, because I always think of, I can be, do, or have anything, but oh my, it's like it's infinite,
It
infinite.
is.
Anything.
You
It's
just it's the trick is how you whether or not you rub the lamp and how
yeah.
you phrase the questions to the genie, I guess, in the metaphor, you know. And that's what we're talking about is like the lamp works all the time and it
But this
works.
is even better. What we get to experience is even better. Is the best version of all of that.
And explain how and why that is.
Well, because my my wishes and wants are unlimited. Like I anything,
Yeah.
and and I can and they can be altered at any time as soon as I think them. Like I don't even have to say them, but if I think like, oh, I want that, but I want it to be this. Like the universe. So this is where it gets tricky. Not the law of
Yes, this is where it gets
attraction.
tricky.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think. So my higher self says yes, gets that information and keeps all of those changes and becomes that. And law of attraction responds to my inner being's energy. So therefore it's put in the vortex. And then I can do, it's probably more than one of two things. I can either focus on that and know it's coming, or I can get off the topic altogether and just go and feel better and feel better and feel better, and then it'll just appear in some wonderful story way that we always talk about, like, oh, this, and here's the story of how it came about. And
That's
that's
the
so
other crazy part of it to me is that if and I'm beating the lamp metaphor to death here, the lamp has to be in the title of this episode, whatever it ends up being. But but one of the other things I learned from Abraham Hicks, and please Google Abraham Hicks to find out if you don't know, which I apologize if you don't know. But one thing I learned from her is that anytime we have a wish, in a weird way, we don't even have to rub the lamp. Like anytime you have a desire, a genuine desire within yourself, it goes into the lamp and it's all in the lamp for you. And I'm calling the lamp, the vortex, the lamp.
Uh-oh.
And then getting the genie to appear. I don't know how far I can drag this metaphor, but getting rubbing the lamp, getting the genie to appear, asking the questions like that is just us getting into alignment with our higher self,
Mm,
being
mm,
as resistance free as possible,
mm,
feeling as good as possible, and being allowing, not forcing, not building, not constructing, but allowing a flow from the lamp into our life, or from the vortex into our life.
ooh,
And that's the tricky part.
so delicious. Ooh,
That's why it
love that.
feels like the lamp story is a fairy tale because we put all sorts of barriers in our
That's
way.
only because we were never told that.
Yep.
And we were told the opposite of that. You have to work really hard, you have to suffer. Oh,
Yeah.
you can't have that. Don't ask for that. You're greedy. Don't ask for too much. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
All these, oi, 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 all these negative, like, ah, deprivation thoughts. Like, you
Yeah.
know, who are you to want that? You can't have that. Are
Yeah, and
you?
that's all mental programming. And it doesn't
All of
mean,
that. Absolutely.
I think sometimes the way I talk about it, I feel like I worry about oversimplifying it because the
All of this
concept,
is really simple.
well, the
It's
concept
powerful
is
and
simple,
simple.
but what can be not simple is the fact that for a lot of us, the mental programming that says, we don't deserve things and it doesn't work that way and you can't have what you want and all that sort of stuff was given to us by other people. Like when we were kids, we just recorded it,
And no
whatever.
fault of theirs either, because they were
Right. They
probably
didn't know.
given that by someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. And number two, once it's in your mind, it's, I mean, you're gonna say something I think that will somewhat controvert this in the correct way, but once it's in your mind, it is a piece of programming, and it seems to be that what we've learned about the human mind is like once something has, well, in the language, in the way we talk about it, if you think a thought over and over again, it becomes a belief, and I'm kind of calling that a computer program in the sense that it will run without our permission. In other words, and I still find this happening to me. Like when I'm trying to think of, there's been a recent example, and I keep catching. I'm like, why do I keep thinking this stupid thing? It's like, oh, because I don't know. Some grown-ups said it a bunch of times when I was a kid. But it's like, something will happen, and we will have this almost automatic response, like, well, that's not going to work, or, well, I can never afford that. I think that's the most common one I hear today, partly because in the United States and a lot of other countries, we're having some economic difficulties again, which, but, and people are saying, well, I can't afford that. And it's like, okay, that's not so often that belief. I hear it all the time about real estate in California too. It just cracks. I mean, I hate to say it, but it cracks me up. Because people's like, oh, California's so expensive. It's like, really? We're one of the largest states by population in the United States. It's like, if it was too expensive, nobody would live here. So some people are able to afford it. Some people don't think it's expensive. But that's the thing. It's like, there's a difference between looking at your actual financial situation on paper and looking at an actual amount of rent or mortgage payment and seeing whether or not you can afford that. That is almost never what people do when they instinctively say, well, that's too expensive, or I can't afford that. They're actually saying that out of this programming, which just is like, has a filter of like anything over whatever, $100, $50, whatever your ceiling is, that's too expensive. And I always want to be gentle with myself and others around that, because I feel like it can be frustrating because you can learn the art of
I actually saw
allowing.
you do that a couple of minutes ago when you're like, I had this thought. You're like, oh, why did you were just, the way you did it was very light and
Yeah,
gentle. And I really liked
yeah.
that you did that with yourself when you
I
caught
mean,
yourself saying or doing it.
for me, it's very important to be gentle because it's not like I'm responsible for it. Like the programming that's in my brain, no one else is now. I'm an adult. No one else is
Yeah.
responsible for the programming in my
Yeah.
brain. Even if I didn't put it there, it's my stuff now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that
True.
I can. It doesn't necessarily mean I could wave a magic wand and then just have all of those beliefs go away immediately.
Well, it's just
Um,
because it's been done. I've
it's
said it
yeah,
over and over and over again that
yeah,
lots of times it's just a knee jerk reaction. I don't even, it'll come out of my
yeah.
mouth. I love when you catch me saying things. You haven't done it in a while. But you're
Well,
like,
because
oh,
you're really good
would
at.
Coach Stephanie say that? Because I have my own slew of things that I think and say that are not serving my highest good. Um, but it, so then now is just practicing those other things like, oh,
Mhm,
I could afford that. Huh.
mhm.
Wouldn't it be
Yeah,
nice if I could afford that? Ooh, I
mhm.
would love to be able to afford that.
Yeah.
Wow. What if I had all the money to do that? Oh my goodness. Just
Well, something that's definitely happened to me, and I've also heard other people have to it. Like I've been convinced that I can't afford a certain thing, and so that's my vibration. That's what I'm attracting, and then, but something I will somehow have accidentally unlocked it. Law of attraction wise, and I get a big check I wasn't expecting or something like
right.
that. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's easier for me to remember when other people do this, and they're like, "Oh my God, this thing that I thought I couldn't afford, all of a sudden I can afford it." And I was like, yeah, that's a real misinterpretation interpretation of what happened, because it wasn't that you couldn't afford it, and then suddenly you could
Mm,
afford it.
mm,
I mean, that's what was happening on the practical, real world
yeah.
level. But what was happening vibrationally was you were resisting, and then you let go of resistance. That's
That is beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad you pointed
so
that out.
yeah. But the trick is just practicing that new way of thinking so that you understand, you just remember that more often. I was going to say understand, but it's like I think that's the weird part is like when I watched The Secret, it made sense to me. I understood how it all worked.
Right.
But the trick is like, oh, but that's I mean, I don't remember. I think I was in my 30s when I first saw it. So it's like I had whatever, 32 years of mental programming that said everything in The Secret is not true. Watching a 2-hour film doesn't magically make it
Once, yeah.
32 years. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
well, now I know how everything works.
Well, and
Bada boom, easy street, baby. You
that's
know,
why I love listening to Abraham daily.
yeah,
And sometimes I'll listen to it so much I'll get tired of it and then take a break, and then something will come up and I'm like, oh, I need to go back and listen to some more. And because it is a program, it is a just like, oh, I need to be reminded of these things because it doesn't come natural to me.
yeah,
But I do like the effect. I feel happier when I listen to them.
yeah,
I feel empowered. I feel hopeful. I feel abundant. I feel possibilities. I feel magical. Sometimes I feel so good that
yeah.
I'm like, this is
It's
amazing.
I just want to say again, I'm really grateful to Kelly, Jacqueline, Sarah, and our friend Angelica, who I forgot to mention, who recently got in touch with me and said that she was really expressing gratitude that we're doing at this time. If you're listening to this in 2022 when we're making it,
Mm.
um, that we post a new episode every Monday morning at the same time, so that if you have your alerts set on your podcast platform or YouTube, it pops up for you, because she is using this podcast as a way to remember, to
Mm.
change that programming. And I'm
Thank you,
so
Angelica.
grateful that's I want to thank her for sharing that with me. But that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast, is like it's to
Yeah,
help others,
because
of course,
yeah, yeah,
but it's also
exactly.
like you and I doing this helps, is part of that continual
It's
reprogramming
for
process.
me too, right? Yeah, yeah.
And I get embarrassed during the week sometimes, because I'll be out with a friend or something, and I'll say something really negative, out of that instinct, out of that whatever, and then
Love it.
but nowadays I immediately go, but of course I'm on a podcast where I tell everyone in the
I
world
love when you do that. I love
to
when
do
you
the opposite of what I just
say
said.
that. We'll be like talking and you'll like, oh, but I know this podcast. I should probably listen. I'm like, you should send me that info. I want to hear it too. That's funny.
But yeah, but I mean, it's I think that's what we've said. That's why one of the reasons why I think it's so important to be gentle with yourself, because I think the potential pitfall is somebody watches The Secret for the first time, or listens to a few Abraham workshop recordings on YouTube for the first time, and is like, oh, okay, I understand it, I get it. So a year from now, I better, if I don't have everything I want in my life, then it's just my fault. And it's like this is, your programming is probably going to have a tail to it that's going to have an effect for a while, and be easy with yourself about that. Like, don't beat
And
yourself up
and
about it.
we're never going to have everything we want,
Yeah,
because then when I get something that I want, then I have a new vantage point, and
yeah,
then from there there'll be either a contrasting situation, or I'll think of something else that I want, because we're infinite beings, and so
yeah,
it's never ending. It kind of reminds me of laundry. It's like, yeah, I do all the laundry, and by the end of the day I'm putting something in that laundry basket and that laundry is not done. So it's like, what does Abraham says, just just accept it. You're never going to get it done.
the incompleteness of it. Yeah,
Yeah, and that
it's challenging. That's challenging too, though, because I think that we have, especially in this day and age, at least in the United States, where we have so many options and opportunities. Like I love the fact that we're able to do this podcast and everything, but it's like I hadn't searched for a new podcast in a long time, and actually this morning I was just looking through my Apple Podcast app, and I was like, oh my God, there's even more than the last. I mean, the last time I checked was a few months ago, and it was like, oh my God, now there's thousands more. And so I think it's very easy for us to not finish things. And sometimes in my life, it
Mhm.
is really important to kind of stay dedicated to something so that I see it to its completeness. Because I feel like there is a part of the creation or co-creation process. Like anytime you and I finish a season of this podcast, I feel like, yeah, that's good. Like it's not the end, but it's good that we had this like end of season. Like we did another season. Good for us.
Yeah, yeah.
But what you say is also exactly correct. Is like on the day that we die, we're gonna have a bunch of stuff that we would really like to do tomorrow, and that's just the nature of who we are. You know?
Well, then when we croak, as Abraham says,
Yeah.
then we're on to another journey, and
Yeah.
it's infinite. We are infinite, yeah. And we're gonna be here too. Like if I go before you do, I'm like, hey, Collin, what are you doing? What's up? What's up?
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of the end of the conversation, but we've only been for 22 minutes, and we usually try to do 30. Do we end it there? Do we end it there?
um, so we're infinite. Keep asking.
Can we talk about how we're infinite for 8 minutes?
No, I don't think so. No, that would be a whole show in itself. So I'm going to leave this,
Oh,
or we
oh,
could talk about this. So feel appreciation for what is. So if there's something in your life that you once wanted that you have, feel appreciation for it. And eagerness for what is coming. Because since we're always asking and it's always being given and something's always showing up, just know that what you're wanting right now is going to eventually show up.
I think that
Be
was
excited for that.
when I was thinking about this topic during the week. I think that's what I wanted to emphasize for myself was that a lot of times I can think about practicing the art of allowing, visualizing what I want, getting into a good feeling place, and that can feel like a big project of effort that I have to do. And what is so helpful when you remind me that law of attraction is a law, it's not something I have to do, it's just something I have to work with. That, because that's what, when, especially when we use the gravity metaphor, it's like, oh, there's already this universally super powerful force doing the thing. So I don't have to have anything with that. All I have to do is my little tiny part, which is get my vibration in the right state, flow, like you say, be in gratitude for everything I have, be excited and eager for all the things
Even
that are
find one
coming.
thing that you feel appreciation for and just talk about it. Just
Yeah,
milk that for a while. Or if something
yeah.
really cool happens, talk about it over and over, pick it apart. What did you love about it? Like, yeah, and just
That's one
bask
thing
in
I feel
it.
like I've had that suggested to me in multiple things I've read, and I'm trying to practice it. I find it very difficult. It's partly because I'm pretty self-absorbed sometimes, but like so often when we're in conversation with others, we're like waiting to respond. There's this whole thing that's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
sort of come out recently that a lot of people are talking about this, like about listening to listen instead of waiting to respond.
yeah.
Because what I do a lot in conversation is when someone else is talking, I'm kind of like, yeah, 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 but I have a thing I want to say. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know,
When can I
I
say
do
the
that
thing?
too.
And what people really like, though, because people hate that. Like, it's funny how like we do things to other people that we know we hate ourselves. But the thing is like if you tell someone about something, you most of the time, if you're gonna be totally honest with yourself, like your greatest thing would be if they were like, "Really? That sounds incredible. Tell me more about it." But so often in human conversation, what we do is like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, one time when I was in, I did that too, and it was really good too. That's great." And that's not really listening and celebrating what was shared with you, that's actually kind of almost competing with it and trying to pull the focus from the other person
I
to
do
you.
both. I think I do both. Like sometimes I'm present and I can be like, oh my God, that's so awesome. Or sometimes I can be like, celebrate it more than they do.
Well, that's great, Stephanie, but let me tell you how I am about it.
And then other times I just can't wait to respond, or they've triggered a memory of mine and I can't wait to tell them about that
Yeah,
thing. And yeah,
yeah.
it's like, oh, but again, perfectly imperfect.
But
Here I am.
it's interesting of like you and I had that time. I don't think we've ever shared this on the podcast, and it's a really
Are we
good
gonna
time.
talk about it first before we share?
No, no.
What was
This
it?
was my birthday celebration in San Diego a few years
Oh,
ago,
oh,
where we met a bunch of
yes.
mutual
Oh, that
friends
was so fun.
at the Old Town Mexican Cafe in
One of
Old
our
Town,
spots, yes.
and we had this ridiculous. We didn't realize that we would have this ridiculously long wait. We got there on a night where the restaurant was super busy.
Which it
I
usually is, yeah.
Well, but you and I have been there for lunch on like Sundays a lot, or Saturdays or Sundays, and it's never that
I'm
busy.
trying to think
But
when, yeah,
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 but this was an weekday evening, and they were slammed. And so we had, I don't even know, 6 or 7 of our mutual friends, you and I.
yeah.
We were on a bench out in front of the restaurant on the street, and we were obviously, but there was the other
Who
thing.
recommended it? Who suggested it? Us
I
doing?
don't remember.
Was it
But
the
one thing about the group of friends was that not everybody knew everybody.
right,
So there was
right?
people who were strangers to each other, and then people who were like, I knew everybody. You may have known everybody, but I think there were definitely other people who didn't know everybody. And so it's like, oh my gosh, like what can we talk about for an hour where everybody doesn't know everybody,
Yeah.
but everybody feels involved, and it's not like, and it's just like a bullshit pass the time kind of thing. And so I don't remember who it was, but somebody came up with this idea of tell us something
Was
about
it the girl, your girlfriend? Was it the girl you were dating at that
at the
time?
time.
Yeah.
I doubt
Was
it.
she the? I think she was. No, I really think she was the one who suggested it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, what? So
Yeah,
say, what
anyway.
was it?
But it was tell us something from your life that you're proud of that we can celebrate with you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna write that one down.
It was so cool. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done, and I don't think I've ever done it since. It's just like so funny. It's like, oh, that was great. Let's do it again. Never. Um, but yeah, but everybody brought up like this accomplishment, and for some people, it was things that they had gotten some approval for at the time, but not maybe not as much as they were hoping or whatever. Like I think somebody mentioned a big athletic achievement from their high school years, like they won a medal in something, or they won a big regional competition in something. Um, but but for some people, it was stuff that they had never even really revealed to anybody, but that they were just really proud of. And no matter what it was, all of us were like, and it was
Cheering.
genuine.
Like, wait,
We
wait,
knew
wait. You
we were
actually
going to
like,
hoot and
yeah,
holler, but
yeah.
I just remember being genuinely
Oh,
blown
of
away
course,
by everything
absolutely.
everybody
Yeah,
said. But we actually spent, I don't know, like 30 to 60 seconds after
yeah.
they shared it, the
Well, as
whole
we found
group
out last week, 30
going,
seconds is a long time. So,
yeah. But we spent
so
that time, like, we didn't just be like, okay, next. It was like the
it's such
person
a
would
great
share.
game. Such a great game because we really got to learn things about each other that would not have come up in normal conversation, probably.
I mean, we did a bunch of really cool things with that one exercise. One was learn about each other. Two was we connected the whole group. Like I feel
Yes.
like
Yeah, it
that
was
was like the best.
powerful. We had a lovely
Um,
evening. It was
but
awesome.
also we spent, to what you're always talking about. We spent a lot of time just in a mutually positive vibration. Like we just
Yeah.
like feeling good energy, clapping, celebrating someone genuinely. Like we weren't like making it up. Like when
Well,
somebody
we
said
were
something, I
getting
was like, "That's
together.
amazing." I was like, I
Yeah.
really thought it was amazing.
And we were getting together for your birthday.
Yes.
So we were already in a positive momentum. And then that was brought up, and we did that. And it just kept growing and growing till the
Yeah.
evening was just amazing. We were all so happy and had
Yeah.
such a great time. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome.
I don't
Tell
remember
me
what made
something that
me.
you were proud of in your life. I love that. So I can help you celebrate.
How did that? How did we get on that time? Because the original thing we were talking about is, oh, how law of attraction acts as a law. And that's the thing. It's like we had an amazing time that night. And maybe we could have without that experience. But I think that game we played or exercise we did guaranteed it. Like just
Yes,
guaranteed that we would
yes,
have
yeah.
a great time. And that's the thing. It's like we didn't have to like figure out how we were going to have a good time. We just got our vibration in this amazingly great place. And then the law of attraction brought a great night to us. Like that exercise was one of the easiest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
But you know, that's the thing. It doesn't bringing more of what you want into your life doesn't have to ever be this like massive heavy lifting effort that we think
Not
it
at
is.
all. Not at all. Even just saying to someone, tell me something good,
Yeah,
can just really shift things around.
yeah.
You'd be surprised by what you hear.
All right, so like always, we went a bunch of different places there, but I think it was. I really got a lot out of that
I did
discussion.
too. That was fun. And to remember that, I hadn't
Yeah,
thought about that in a long time.
yeah. I hope you listening and watching also got something out of it. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy
Oh,
that you did. We are posting a brand new episode for you every Monday morning at this point, and we truly appreciate you doing whatever your platform allows you to do to support us. Liking us, following us, subscribing to us, leaving us a comment, and writing us a review. All of that helps other people find us. All of our social media links and our email address are in the description of the YouTube video version of this down in the doodly-doo below. We'd love to hear from you. We wish you a happy and abundant week, and we look forward to you joining us again on the next episode of Co-Creation Station.
bye.